Osho's stories. Bindy, Bindy for 5 days. You should be faithful only to love, not to the lover. Both should be faithful to love as long as it lasts. If it lasts your whole life, good. If it doesn't last your whole life, that is even better. Mullah Nasiruddin was appointed as the advisor of a king, and the advisor had to remain with the king because any moment any problem could arise and his advice may be needed. So he was with the king almost 24 hours. He was sleeping in the king's palace and he was moving with the king the whole day. The first day they were eating, sitting at the dining table, and the cook had made beautiful stuffed bindis. The king liked them, and he asked Nasiruddin, Mullah, what is your opinion? He said, My lord, bindis are the first vegetable for health, for long life, for better intelligence, a protection against all kinds of diseases. In the old age, scriptures, they have been described as the best preventive medicine, and your cook is great. The cook heard it, so he started making bhindis every day. The second day, the king tolerated. Third day, it was getting too much. Fourth day, he started getting irritated. Fifth day, he threw the whole plate on the floor and called the cook. Are you mad? Every day, bhindi, bhindi, bhindi. Am I a man or a buffalo? The cook said, I am an ignorant man. I heard your great adviser say that bhindi is nectar, preventive of diseases, preventive of old age, giving length to life, intelligence, and I thought if bhindis has so many qualities, my lord should be given bhindis as much as possible. The king said, Mullah, what do you say? Mullah said, bhindis, they are poison, never touch them. The king said, You seem to be very strange person. Just 5 days before you were praising them. He said, Listen, my lord, I am your servant, not the servant of the bhindis. Whatever you like, I will praise. Even if it is poison, I will call it nectar. And if you don't like something, even if it is nectar, I will call it poison. I am your servant. You want to taste different foods. You want to wear different clothes. You want to visit new places. You want to make new friends. What is wrong if you find a new lover? Who say it is unfaithful? The very idea of unfaithfulness is fascist because it is demanding. Go on eating bhindis, bhindis, bhindis because bhindis cannot speak. Otherwise, they would all have screamed from the floor. You are being unfaithful to us. For 5 days we remained married and you are throwing us on the floor. Is this your gratefulness? As far as I am concerned, you should be faithful only to love, not to the lover. Both should be faithful to love as long as it lasts. If it lasts your whole life, good. If it doesn't last your whole life, that is even better. There is no crime in it. The king visits Chuang Tzu in the forest. Greed is the root of fear. As long as you desire things, you will be afraid to lose them. I have heard that Chuang Tzu, a great Chinese mystic, was once a minister to the king. After some time, he resigned from the ministry and became a sannyasin. Started living in a forest under a tree. Once the king went to the forest to hunt and his friends told him, Chuang Tzu, your ex-minister lives under a tree nearby. If you are interested, we can go and see him. The king replied, Certainly, it would be worth seeing him. What was happened to Chuang Tzu? How has he changed after becoming a sannyasin? Chuang Tzu had been minister to the king for many years, and the king knew him well. He also remembered how cultured a man he was. So the king went there. He got down from his chariot and stood near Chuang Tzu. Chuang Tzu was sitting with his legs stretched out, playing on his tambourine, and he remained in the same posture with his legs stretched. This was disrespectful. The king was standing in front of him. He was sitting with his leg stretched out. The king said, Chuang Tzu, it is all right to be sannyasin, but don't forget your culture. Why do you continue to keep your legs stretched out in my presence? Chuang Tzu said, on the day my greed disappeared, my fear also disappeared. Now I want nothing from you, so I have no fear of you. In the past, I used to fold my outstretched legs, not because I was cultured, but because of my greed. I was afraid that you would deny me your favors. Now that I have myself have left behind all that you could have deprived me of, there is no more fear of you. You think that you are an emperor, but to me you are the same as any person passing by on the road. Once you were an emperor for me, but that was because of my greed. I could get many things from you which were not possible to get from anyone else. But now you are just a passerby, just like anyone else. Now I don't need to fold my outstretched legs to please you. Now there is no fear in me. As soon as greed disappears, the fear also disappears. Rinzai bowing down to Buddha, who was never born and never died. Not only Buddha, nobody has come down from the seventh heaven ever, but a few people get obsessed, identified with their reflections. One Zen monk, Rinzai, used to say, this man, Buddha, was never born, he never walked on this earth, he never died, he is just a dream, and every day he would go to the temple and bow down before Buddha's statue. Then somebody said, Rinzai, you are just mad. Every day you go on insisting that this man was never born, never died, never walked on this earth, and still you go to the temple and bow down. Rinzai said, because this man was never born, never walked on this earth, never died, that is why I go and bow down. The questioner persisted, saying, we can't follow you. Either you are mad or we are mad, but we cannot follow. What do you mean? And Rinzai said, the birth of this man was just a dream to him. Walking on this earth was just a dream to him. Death was not real to him, just an end to a long dream. And this man, the center of his being, remained beyond birth, beyond death. It is said that Buddha always remained in the seventh heaven. He never came down, only his reflections was here, and this is true. This is true for you also. You have never come down, only the reflection, but you have become so identified with the reflection that you have forgotten. You think that you have come down. You cannot come down. From your being, there is no way to fall down. You can look into a river and you can see the reflection, and you can become so identified with it that you can think that you are underwater. You can suffer because of it. You can feel suffocated, and you can feel now you are going to die, and you are always standing on the bank. You have never come down to the water. You cannot come. So I say to you, not only Buddha, nobody has come down from the seventh heaven ever. But a few people get obsessed, identified with their reflections. This is what Hindus call the world of Maya. The world of reflections. We remain in the Brahm. We remain in the ultimate reality, rooted there eternally. Nobody ever comes down, but we get identified with the reflection, with the dream. The Master's last message. This is a man who lives in the here and now. This cake is delicious, even death is irrelevant. The next moment is meaningless. This moment, this cake is delicious. I have heard about an old Zen monk. He was on his deathbed. The last day had come, and he declared that that evening he would be no more. So followers, disciples, friends started coming. He had many lovers, they all started coming. From far and wide people gathered. One of his old disciples, when he heard that the master was going to die, ran to the market. Somebody asked, "The master is dying in his hut. Why are you going to the market?" The old disciple said, "I know that my master loves a particular type of cake, so I am going to purchase the cake." It was difficult to find the cake because now it had gone out of fashion, but by the evening somehow he managed. He came running with the cake, and everybody was worried. It was as if the master was waiting for someone. He would open his eyes and look, and close his eyes again. And when this disciple came, he said, "Okay, so you have come. Where is the cake?" The disciple produced the cake, and he was very happy that the master asked about the cake. Dying, the master took the cake in his hand, but his hand was not trembling. He was very old, but his hand was not trembling. So somebody asked, "You are so old and just on the verge of dying. The last breath is soon to leave you, but your hand is not trembling." The master said, "I never tremble because there is no fear. My body has become old, but I am still young, and I will remain young even when the body is gone." Then he took a bite, started munching the cake, and then somebody asked, "What is your last message, master? You will leaving us soon. What do you want us to remember?" The master smiled and said, "Ah, this cake is delicious. This is a man who lives in the here and now. This cake is delicious. Even death is irrelevant. The next moment is meaningless. The moment this cake is delicious." House on fire. You simply watch. You stand by the side, unconcerned. Whatsoever is going on in your mind, don't interfere. Don't try to stop it. Do not do anything, because whatsoever you do will become a discipline. So do not anything at all. Just watch. Watching is not a doing. Just as you watch the sunset or the clouds in the sky or the people passing on the street, watch the traffic of thoughts and dreams, nightmares, relevant, irrelevant, consistent, inconsistent, anything that is going on. And it is always rush hour. You simply watch, you stand by the side, unconcerned. The pseudo religions don't allow you to remain unconcerned because they say greed is bad. So if a thought of greed comes, you jump to prevent it. Otherwise, you will become greedy. Anger is bad. If an angry thought passes by, you immediately jump and you have to change it. You have to be kind and compassionate, and you have to love your enemy just like yourself. If something against your neighbor comes up, no, you have to love your neighbor just like yourself. So all the old religions have given you ideas of what is right and what is wrong. And if the wrong thing is passing by, you certainly have to stop it. You have to interfere. You have to jump in and pull that thing out. You miss the point. That is why I don't say to you what is right and what is wrong. All that I say is to watch is right, not to watch is wrong. I make it absolutely simplified. Be watchful. It is none of your business if greed is passing by Let it pass. If anger is passing by, let it pass. Who are you to interfere? Why are you so much identified with your mind? Why do you start thinking, I am greedy, I am hungry? There is only a thought of anger passing by. Let it pass, you just watch. There is an ancient story, a man who has gone out of his town, come back and finds that his house is on fire. It was one of the most beautiful houses in the town. And the man loved the house. Many people were ready to give double price for the house, but he had never agreed for any price. And now it is just burning before his eyes, and thousands of people have gathered, but nothing can be done. The fire has spread so far that even if you try to put it out, nothing will be saved. So he becomes very sad. His son comes running and whispers something in his ear. Don't be worried, I sold it yesterday and at a very good price, 3 times. The offer was so good, I couldn't wait for you, forgive me. But the father said, good, if you have sold it for 3 times more than the original price of the house, then the father is also a watcher with other watchers. Just a moment. Before he was not a watcher, he was identified. It is the same house, the same fire, everything is the same. But now he is not concerned. He is enjoying it just as everybody else is enjoying. Then the second son comes running and he says to the father, what are you doing? You are smiling and the house is on fire. The father said, don't you know your brother has sold it? He said he had talked about selling it, but nothing has been settled yet, and the man is not going to purchase it now. Again, everything changes. Tears which had disappeared have come back to the father's eye. His smile is no more there. His heart is beating fast, but the watcher is gone. He is again identified. And then the third son comes and he says, that man is a man of his word. I have just come from him. He said, it doesn't matter whether the house is burned or not, it is mine, and I am going to pay the price that I have settled for. Neither you knew nor I knew that the house would catch on fire. Again, the father is a watcher. The identity is no more there. Actually, nothing is changing, just the idea that I am the owner, I am identified somehow with the house makes the whole difference. The next moment he feels, I am not identified, somebody else has purchased it, I have nothing to do with it, let the house burn. This simple methodology of watching the mind, that you have nothing to do with it, most of its thought are not yours but from your parents, your teachers, your friends, the books, the movies, the television, the newspapers. Just count how many thoughts are your own, and you will be surprised that not a single thought is your own. All are from other sources. All are borrowed, either dumped by others on you or foolishly dumped by yourself upon yourself, but nothing is yours. The mind is there, functioning like a computer. Literally, it is a biocomputer. You will not get identified with the computer. If the computer gets hot, you won't get hot. If the computer gets angry and starts giving signals in 4-letter words, you will not be worried. You will see what is wrong, where something is wrong, but you remain detached. Just a small knack. I cannot even call it a method because that makes it heavy. I call it a knack. Just by doing it, one day suddenly you are able to do it. Many times you will fail. It's nothing to be worried about. No loss, it is natural, but just doing it, one day it happens. Once it has happened, once you have, even for a single moment, become the watcher, you know now how to become the watcher on the hills so far, and the whole mind is there deep down in the dark valley, and you are not to do anything about it. The most strange thing about the mind is if you become a watcher, it starts disappearing. Just like the light disperses darkness, watchfulness disperses the mind, its thought, its whole paraphernalia. So, meditation is simply watchfulness, awareness, and that reveals it is nothing to do with inventing. It invents nothing, it simply discovers that which is there. A centipede on his morning walk. A centipede is just going for a morning walk. Now a centipede has 100 legs. A frog looks at him, cannot believe his eyes, blinks his eyes, looks again, 100 feet. How does he manage? Which one to raise first, and then the second, then the third, then the fourth? 100 lakhs. If you forget the number, you will be caught in your own legs and fall down. He rushes up to him, jumps, stops the centipede, and asks him, Uncle, I should not stop you on your morning walk, but a very philosophical question has arisen in my mind which I cannot solve. I am just a frog. You know. Only you can help. The centipede says, What is the problem? The frog explains to him, This is the problem. I saw your 100 legs. I counted them, and the problem is, how do you manage? The centipede said, I had never thought about it. I will try and see how I have been managing. I have never thought about it. I really have never looked down and counted the legs. You are great. You are a mathematician and a philosopher. The centipede tried, and you can visualize what you must have happened. He fell immediately, all his 100 legs entangled in each other. He was very angry at the frog and said, Never again ask anybody such questions. Keep your philosophy to yourself, you idiot. I have been managing my whole life, and not only I, millions of centipedes are managing perfectly well. Nobody has fallen like me, but now I am afraid you have created such a question in my mind that if I don't get rid of this question, I may not be able to walk at all. Now tell me how to get rid of this question. The frog said, I don't know. I am myself puzzled. I asked you because you are an experienced person, an old centipede, and you go every day for a morning walk. If you cannot solve it, how can I? I am just a poor frog. I don't know what happened to the centipede afterwards, but I can imagine that his whole life must have become a mess. Again and again the question would have come to him, 100 legs, am I putting the right leg in the right place? Life has its own ways. The moment you start managing everything, you spoil it. Allow life its freedom. About love, allow freedom, and don't be guided by the fixed ideas. Experience, don't go with the idea that love is permanent or not permanent. Experience and you will know it what it is. Don't take the criterion from others about what is true and what is not true. These are the teachers who have been spoiling the whole of humanity. They tell you how to walk, which leg first and which leg second, and if you put them in some other order, you are a sinner. You will fall into hell. Hell is far away. You will fall here. You may not be able even to reach hell because one needs leg. It is a long journey. Only very expert teachers, professors, philosophers have been able to reach here. It is no ordinary person's business to reach hell. It is a long, long journey and very complicated. The master's function is not to mold you into a certain idea, but to withdraw all the crutches, all the supports that the society has given to you. Of course, in the beginning, you will feel very much afraid, all supports gone, crutches gone, the very earth you were standing on is no longer there. There will be great fear, but it has to be faced. Only by facing it, going through it, will you be able to overcome it. To find a hidden place where to kill a pigeon. When your senses are unable to see, even then you are a witness, and to perceive the inner witness, the senses are not needed. In order to listen to yourself, there is no need to turn your ears inward. All that is needed is that the ears stop hearing the outer. Once the contact with the network of sound waves is broken, once the ears are indifferent to the outer and the energy that was moving out stops, then the same energy will be able to hear the sound of the inner on its own. To hear this sound, ears are not needed at all. All that is meant by reversing the senses is that the senses do not move outward, their energy doesn't move outward. Bayezid, a Sufi mystic, used to tell a story that his master gave a pigeon each to three young men and asked them to kill it at a place where no one could see it. One of the youth came back within 5 minutes after killing the pigeon. He had just walked to a nearby street which was empty with nobody around, strangled it by its neck, and came back. The second youth came back after 3 days. He had made a deeper search for a place where nobody could see him killing the pigeon. So he found a deep cave, went in, and closed the entrance behind him with a rope. Now there was no way for anybody to walk in, even accidentally. There was a deep darkness inside the cave. Even if somebody happened to enter, he wouldn't be able to see anything. There he strangled the pigeon by its neck. The third youth returned after 3 months with a live pigeon. The master asked him, "Couldn't you find any place, even in 3 months, where there was nobody?" The youth replied, "It is not possible to watch such a place even in 3 lifetimes. For 3 months I tried hard. I went into the deepest caves. It was dark, but even there I was present. The pigeon was present, and we too would be witnessing the killing. Even if I closed the eyes of the pigeon, I, the murderer, would be seeing it, no matter how dark the place was." Bajit said, "Out of the three, only you will be able to discover yourself. The other two do not have any thirst for the inner search yet." He sent the two young men back and said to the third one, "You have at least this much awareness that when even your senses are unable to see, when there is no light at all, even then you are a witness, and to perceive the inner witness, the senses are not needed."